Welcome to ZainKhan.org. This is Zain Khan. Today we're going to be interviewing a Hollywood actor and also filmmaker, Sean Stone. Sean is also the son of the legendary film producer and director Oliver Stone. We're going to be discussing with Sean Islamophobia, Hollywood and Mind Control. Welcome to our show, Sean. This is Zain Khan. It's a pleasure to have you on our show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Sean, let's get to the first question. You accepted Islam a few years back. How do you address the issue of Islamophobia?
Well, this is, I think, a misinterpretation of what I've always said, which was I accepted Islam, I accepted Muhammad as a prophet of the one creator. And I think a lot of this got spun into a political sense because I think, for the most part, Islam is politicized the same way that Christianity has been in the past. Judaism has completely been political historically, and now Islam is becoming politicized in a way that people understand the relationship to their creator and their own spiritual practice. So it's something that I think I try to basically help people understand that it's a very blanket word, for example, to throw around to say even Muslim is like saying Jew or Christian. It's a very vague thing. We know that there are people like George Bush who claim to be Christian and then invade countries because God tells him, and that's basically a jihad. So in the same with, there are of course fanatical, crazy Muslims who are trying to convert other people to their religion or to force other people by the sword and things like this. So I think religion is a very dangerous thing to get into because there is such a political ramification to it. So what I try to do as far as just enlightening people is to understand that I believe religion should be a spiritual practice, more of a personal practice, a relationship that you have to your creator, and to understand that all religions have equal validity. They have also equal problems. Everyone has absolute problems because of how people interpret it. So my main thing in terms of maybe combating Islamophobia is just to hopefully raise awareness and understanding that many assumptions people might have or certain stereotypes and beliefs are probably not based in reality or oftentimes based in just ignorance and fear as opposed to understanding of other people's practices and traditions.
Sean, let's get to the second question. We both know that Islamic terrorist groups exist, but do you think some portions of the media form propaganda or anti-Muslim rhetoric to make Muslims look bad?
Of course. There's propaganda, I would say, but not, look, it's a tricky thing because obviously you also have mainstream media in America is very sensitive to this idea of branding Islam. So I don't want to necessarily speak and say the media is just doing it. My point in the original, when I talked about American Sniper, was to say that there is a subtle way, subliminal way maybe, of influencing the way people see Muslims. For example, in American Sniper, when Chris Kyle, the sniper, sees the Muslim woman hand her baby, it was basically like a kid, 10-year-old kid, a bomb to go kill American soldiers, it reinforces in the mentality these Muslims are so crazy they even kill their own children, right? And that's something that can be, that how you say, is more of a, it's a very subtle way of telling it. And obviously there are examples of children suicide bombers in various places around the world, and it's not only Islam. Obviously, a situation, a condition of, I would say, extreme despair, potentially, yes, sometimes ideological brainwashing, and it's a tragedy. But I think these are the kind of things that are used to reinforce certain worldviews, Islam being sort of savage and barbaric. As far as the actual mainstream media dialogue, though, Donald Trump, who really I could say are Islamophobic. There are certain groups that promote Islamophobia, and of course, I think the fact that the media ignores a lot of hate crimes that actually take place in America, that's been on the rise, for example, against Muslims. This is true, and this should be spotlighted more. But as far as just, again, the mainstream media proactively being Islamophobic, no, I think it's done in more subtle ways of just reinforcing certain stereotypes.
Okay, Sean, last question. As a filmmaker, how do movies affect a person's psyche or psychology?
I guess it depends on Well, look, I mean, we don't know. We know, for example, that television puts people into a hypnotic state after, what is it, 15, 20 minutes, I believe, of watching television. You actually go into a basically hypnotized state. So we know the power of media on people. We know the power of lyrics and music, how people listen to music over and over, and it starts playing in your head, right? And you hear the lyrics in your head, even if you weren't really consciously listening to it. For some reason, you just wake up some days and you start singing a song, right? So we know the power of messages subliminally to affect you and get into your mind. So of course we know that media, whether it's film, television, news reporters, all of these things are going to have an effect on your psyche, on your worldview, on your expectations, on your stereotypes. All that is there, I would say. So again, it's not a question of how much it's going to personally affect you. I think it's question, of course, is also do you choose to watch, and how much do you pay attention when you're watching? Because sometimes the subliminal messaging can be more powerful and override the moral of the story. Take a film like Scarface, where my dad wrote the script and I think was intending for people to see the complete arc of a guy who goes from being nothing to becoming a drug lord and ultimately dies, by his own, basically hoisted by his own petard. He dies as a result of his endeavors, right, to become this drug lord. He gets murdered. His sister dies. He's created a complete tragedy. But most people watch Scarface and they want to be Scarface, and they don't realize the consequence of his actions. So that's the problem with film, is that people don't necessarily understand the message of the movie because they get hypnotized and excited by some of the events and the actions and the charisma of a personality, and they don't understand the consequence or the arc of what happens to that character.
Thank you so much, Shaun Stone, for being in our show. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
This was Shaun Stone, a Hollywood actor and also filmmaker. We were discussing the topics of Islamophobia, mind control, and Hollywood. Until the next episode, this is Zain. Take care and goodbye.